A zoo is a place where a wide variety of animals are kept in captivity. Not a great definition, I know. However, it is the truth. It is more of a museum for animals. Over the past years, many enjoy going to the zoo. You get up close and personal with a variety of animals. It's an opportunity for kids and adults to expand their knowledge on these animals. But enough about humans and zoos. Today we are here to talk about animals and zoos. Zoos have had a drastic change over the past years based on how the animals are kept. Zoos try their best to construct a place that resembles their natural habitat. There's no doubt that all animals are kept in an enriched environment. They add natural sounds and other natural aspects for where they are kept. It is also true that modern zoos allow scientists to analyze animals closer for their theories and questions. For example, how they have adapted to a different environment than their natural habitat. Scientists basically compare and contrast between these two concepts. It's basically survival for animals due to captive breeding. Animals such as black, soft, shell turtle, native to India and Bangladesh, are extinct in the wild, but they survive in several zoos around the world, with their health looked after by biologists. Like I said, most zoos want protection for the animals. That's why most zoos in North America are in association with a program called Zoo and Aquarium Species Survival Plan Program. Find animals, bring them in captivity, and grow them until they are ready to be released into their natural habitats. They bolstered populations of black-footed ferrets, California condors, and red wolves. They provide health care and services to help animals that need it. They find animals that are injured or stranded and give these animals a second chance to live. Furthermore, zoos are checked regularly by the government. They examine the cages and the animals if the animals were treated severely. So it does not mean that zoos do not care about the animals. We do. We believe that zoos are like a second home to our animals. We give them protection. Natural habitats is not the safest environment for the animals. This is because there is a lot of pollution and hunting activity going on in North America. So even though these animals are confined from their natural habitats, they are confined from an environment where there's no severity, no protection, and just danger to their lives. There are open-range zoos that give animals more territory to roam and provide more natural habitats. Most zoos want protection for the animals. That's why most zoos in North America are in association with a program called Zoo and Aquarium Species Survival Plan Program. They provide health care for the animals that need it. If the animals are injured in the wild, how can you guarantee that the animals will receive the same care as our zoos would give to the imperiled species? How do you know that species in the natural habitats will not become extinct?
Natural habitats are an ecological or environmental area where a specified species lives. There's nowhere like home doesn't only apply to humans, but to animals as well, and their home is their natural habitat. Although zoos often try to help endangered species, there's no doubt that zoos use animals primarily for entertainment and money. In their natural habitats, animals are allowed to roam freely as there is no restriction of movement. Researchers should study animals in a natural habitat, not when they're confined in a zoo, so they can see how the animals pursue their natural lifestyle. In fact, most zoos want young animals as they are more attractive to the public. So once the animals grow old, some are released in their natural habitats, but many are either sold or killed. Many researchers argue that if certain populations of animals are continued to be held in zoos, then over time they may evolve to be weaker or lazier as they won't need to be active or defend themselves in a zoo. However, if species were able to evolve and survive in their natural habitats for all these years, who's to say they can't do that now? In their natural habitats, animals are able to be with many of their own kind and develop social structures. Also, taking animals out of their natural habitats can disturb the balance of nature and the food chain. Keeping animals in zoos lead to suffering as animals held in captivity often show increased signs and symptoms of psychological and physical stress, depression, and mental health problems which can lead to aggression. One thing I would like to ask you is that you say animals in zoos are well taken care of and they are happy. Then why are many of them found to be depressed and stressed? You say that many people come to the zoo for educational purposes. However, don't you think that they would be better off studying animals in their natural habitats, pursuing their natural lifestyle, instead of being held captive in a zoo?
Animals in their natural habitats are being hunted down, so they do not have the protection or severity that zoos provide. There are limited food resources in the wild, so animals may die out of starvation and become extinct. They cannot receive the same health care services that zoos provide in the wild. So if the animal were to be injured, the animal will not receive any treatment in order for their injuries to be healed. Zoos take care of animals. Due to advanced technology, it is still playing a negative role to the environment, causing some animals to be endangered and threatened. So even though the animals are captive, it's only for their protection and severity. Zoos provide security to our animals. Zoos have changed over time. The atmosphere of the zoos have changed in such a way that ensures the well-being of the animals. They construct environments for their animals that resemble their own natural habitats, so they do not feel trapped or depressed. Like I said, most zoos want protection for the animals. That's why most zoos in North America are in association with the program. We hire qualified employees to take care of animals that are well trained and know what they are doing. To answer your question, there are speakers and experts that talk out loud for our visitors about the animals, since we are aware that most people will not read the description. Also, animals can be easily observed when they are in zoos because this ensures the safety of the observer, or in other words, the scientist. Also, just to add, back in the day, zoos would kill due to overpopulation or due to hybrid offspring, because those animals only believed about purebred animals. But as people change over time, their thoughts change as well. So today, the zoos only believe about their protection.
Just to respond to some of your arguments, you mentioned how zoos have changed in the sense that there is now more space for animals to roam around. This may be the case in North America and developed countries, but in developing countries, many animals are kept in tight cages. Even the space that animals are given in developed countries will never compare to the space that they would have in their natural habitats. Research indicates that captive wild animals suffer from increased physical and psychological stress. You will also mention that zoos provide educational benefits to those who visit them. However, these educational benefits have not been well demonstrated, and some sources indicate that visitors may derive very little educational content from an average visit to the zoo. In fact, a people-watching study conducted over 5 summers by a national zoo curator found that individuals at zoos spend little time talking about animals or animal behavior. According to the curator, fewer than 1% of visitors read the signage provided to supply educational information about the animal exhibits. Something else he mentioned is how some animals, like the black soft-shelled turtle, can only survive in the zoo as they are in danger. However, there are some animals who cannot survive in the zoo for too long. The Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals published a study in 2002 indicating that the Asian elephant only lives an average of 15 years in captivity, as opposed to a lifespan of up to 65 years in the wild. A 2003 study by Ross Club and Georgia Mason of Oxford University found that large carnivores kept in zoos exhibited pacing and other behaviors that were indicators of psychological and emotional stress, resulting from the species' inability to follow natural migration and roaming patterns. Unlike domestic animals created by selective breeding, wild animals are not bred to live in confined, captive conditions. Therefore, the natural behavior of captive animals can pose a threat to both keepers and spectators. In 2012, a tiger escaped its enclosure at a zoo in Germany, killing the zookeeper. The zoo's director was forced to have the animal killed before it entered the visitor's area. Some animal care experts believe that incidents like this are a result of stress and psychological trauma that leads to aggression. Although some hunting does occur, there are laws and rules that protect wildlife by prohibiting hunters to hunt at certain times, in certain areas, or certain animals.
To conclude, zoos have had a drastic change over the past years based on how the animals are kept and how the animals are treated. Most zoos in North America are in association with the program that ensures the safety of our animals called Zoo and Aquarium Species Survival Plan Program. Food resources are limited, so it will be hard for animals to survive in their natural habitat. There is a risk of extinction. Like I said earlier, the Zoo and Aquarium Species Survival Plan Program bolstered the population of black-footed ferrets, California condors, and red wolves. It is true that zoos have had a bad reputation in the olden days. However, due to the advanced technology and strict rules made by the government today, animals are surely protected and treated with care. Don't get me wrong, natural habitats are essential for the animals, but protection and their life is more important.
In sum, animals should be allowed to stay in their natural habitats opposed to the zoo. Instead of spending money on keeping animals in captivity, zoos should spend all of that money trying to preserve natural habitats. Animals are happier and better off if they are wild. When kept in captivity, they are often found to have increased physical and mental problems. Also, people often derive little educational content about animals when they visit the zoo. Clearly, the negatives of keeping animals in captivity outweigh the benefits of the zoo. Some people think that animals should be kept in zoos, but if humans were ever to be confined, they would hate it. So why are people confining animals? We have many alternatives for money and entertainment other than watching animals suffer. In conclusion, as you can see, there are many pros and cons of animals living in their natural habitats or in the zoo.
Depending on which animal we're dealing with, they could be better suited in their natural habitat or in a zoo.